Thank you for listening or watching this episode of the UnderReported podcast. If you would like to get access to bonus episodes or the chance to be a guest on the show, you can do so by joining my Patreon. Just click the link in the show notes. You can also support this podcast by getting your Underrepped but Always Reppin' merch. Just visit underreptmerch.com. That's UnderReppedmerch.com to get yours today. Now let's get to the episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the UnderReported podcast. I am Melanie, your report her, and on this podcast, I share stories of crimes committed against Black women and Black girls because they are underreported in the media. If you're new here, I share a story with you, the audience, and I share it with someone in the studio. And today I'm sharing the story with Mr. Tony Baker.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Share that story. Let's hear it.
So, as I've told you on the last episode, the way this works is you are the voice of the audience. So you can ask questions, interject, react, respond, do all the things that the audience will be doing as they listen. Yes, all of that. In hopes that we just tell like a fuller story and that we kind of get through it. So let's get into it. Today, I'm going to tell you the heartbreaking story about a bright and bubbly woman who was well on her way to fulfilling all of her lifelong dreams. She had a master's degree, a law degree, loyal friends, loving family, and she just got married. She was ready to plan the rest of her life. But one decision changed the trajectory of her life forever. So stay tuned to hear how this story goes from bad to worse in the worst possible way, and the message that her family wants you to learn from her tragic story. This is the underreported story of Lauren Charles. Lauren Charles was a friendly, outgoing woman from New Orleans, Louisiana. She was quite the overachiever and had big plans about what she wanted to do with her life. After she graduated high school, she went to Johns Hopkins University, where she studied public health and sociology, and then she went on to New York, where she got a master's degree there in historic preservation, and from there she went to get her law degree from Oregon Law. While in Oregon, which is obviously the other side of the country from New Orleans, she was very active in school, joining tons of organizations and groups. She served on some boards. She even did work in the recruitment office at the school. So she was very, very active and like enjoying her years. She was proud and excited about the work that she was doing. And when it came time for graduation, all of her family traveled from Louisiana up to Oregon to celebrate this major accomplishment and to see her off as she would eventually begin her life after school in Washington, D.C. So she goes from Oregon over to Washington, D.C. So she's like traveled and really living her life and getting, relationships all over the country as well as her education. And it's 2016 now, and Lauren is doing quite well for herself. She started her job in D.C. She has a great kind of social network, but she's really, really ready to settle down. She's 35 now and is longing for a husband and kids to spend the rest of her life with. She's open to meeting new people and like actively trying to pursue meeting new people. So when she meets a man named Reginald Dunlap Jr. online, she is excited about the prospect of him being the one. He could be like the one she marries and like has this fairy tale dream that she has about a family and kids and all of that. She's always been really optimistic about love, even when things like previously ended in a breakup. She would still be optimistic and feel like she never wanted to give up on her like happily ever after. So after a couple dates with Reginald, who she would call Reggie, Lauren is all in. He seems like a good guy, and she's ready to introduce him to her friends and family. Her dad, John, is up on the list of important people for Reggie to meet. Obviously, it's her dad, so his opinion very much matters.
Pops.
So John catches a train. John is her dad. He catches a train into D.C., and the trio of them, the three of them, have planned to attend a festival. According to Fox 5's reporting on this case, when Lauren asked her dad after they met, she asks her dad, "What is your first impression of Reggie?" And he says, "Baby, I need another first impression because this one didn't work."
Oh.
So he is not really here for Reggie. He was less than impressed.
Yeah.
Particularly with Reggie's sideways position baseball cap. So John's a little old school, and so his whole wearing of the hat and not taking it off, and also it's sideways. The whole thing is like not really giving a friendly and welcoming demeanor for dad.
So he Reggie. He not Reginald.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Reggie.
Reggie, even with meeting her father, and her father is not really impressed.
Right.
So he's disappointed with this meeting, and he's disappointed that like this is who my brilliant and beautiful daughter is choosing to date.
Yeah.
So this sentiment about Reggie it actually seems to be the consensus amongst all of Lauren's friends. So anyone she's had meet him, they're not really taking a liking to him.
Okay.
In an interview with Fox 5, one of Lauren's friends says that Reggie sometimes would show up to cookouts. Like they would have kind of friend cookouts or friend events. Sometimes he would show up and sometimes he wouldn't. But when he would, he'd be quiet and like reserved. He really didn't speak to anyone and didn't seem like he cared to speak to anyone. So everyone is kind of like put off because he just doesn't seem like he wants to meet them or be around them. They're also pretty confused by his job situation. He either never seemed to have a job or at least not like a steady job. So they're really confused, especially because Lauren is quite accomplished, like we said, right? She has traveled and done all these things. And so she has this guy who is like, doesn't really seem to be fitting in with her or the friend group.
Not feeling Reggie.
Exactly. And so to top it off, Reggie's living situation is a bit odd.
What the hell is...
Lauren tells her friends that Reggie lives with his mom, but he never invites Lauren over to meet his mom.
Red flag.
She also has never gone to the house where he lives.
Red flag.
Yeah, he's like, anytime they meet up, he comes to her house or they meet out, but she can't come to his house and she hasn't met the mom that he lives with.
Red flag.
It's a bunch of red flags.
Man.
At some point while they're dating, Reggie had actually given an address to Lauren that was, he says, his mom's house.
Okay.
And so she kind of takes it and does nothing with it for a while. But one day, she decides she wants to surprise him.
Oh.
So she takes this address that he's given her and she does a surprise pull-up. She drives over. But to her shock and dismay, the address was to an empty lot. There's no house. Certainly no Reggie, no Reggie's mom. There's nothing. So she's confused. And from all of the reporting that I could find and do research on, it's not clear what exactly happened after discovering that the address was to nowhere.
Right.
But friends confirmed that Lauren was, of course, shocked and confused that he would lie in this way.
Right.
But it didn't really seem to deter her from the relationship. They continued dating. So by 2019, so now they've been together for 3 years, okay?
3 years?
We've jumped now, okay? It's 2019, they're still together.
Wow.
And now they're planning a wedding. They're ready to get married. Lauren's dad, John, is not happy with the news. He tries to get his brother, who is Lauren's uncle, to talk her out of the marriage because he's kind of like, I'm her dad. Maybe she's not listening because I'm dad.
Right.
So like maybe if she hears it from somebody else, she'll hear it more clearly. But the uncle comes back like, she's kind of she said this is what she wants to do. Her mind is made up.
Dang.
Lauren's friends also feel like she deserves better. They don't really like him, but they're also, as friends, trying to balance being supportive for her and not overstep, but also like, girl, you can do better. So they're trying to do this whole song and dance. But when the wedding is approaching, they just kind of gather in, express their excitement for her new chapter of life. They know this is something that she's been wanting, and so they just kind of get into supportive friend role. One of her friends even enlists her husband. So the friend has now called her own husband to throw Reggie's bachelor party for him.
Okay.
Because Reggie, it seems like, doesn't have any family or friends who would do it for him. And so while everyone is confused, like, where's his family that would be doing this?
Yes.
But friend is like, it's okay, my husband will do it. So the husband throws the party, and then the wedding day comes, and the same thing with the bachelor party happens at the wedding. There's no family on his side, no friends. Everyone there is from Lauren's side of the family.
Okay.
They get married in May of 2019, and the venue, like I said, is filled with people, all of Lauren's people, men and women from her family to her college friends, work friends, and everyone is there to celebrate. The whole thing was odd because, of course, nobody from Reggie's side. But
not even the mom?
No, not even the mom. In that moment, John makes the decision that if this is what his daughter wants to do, this is what he will allow her to do. He's not going to step in anymore. My daughter is grown. Okay, I'm going to step out.
Yeah.
And this decision, I assume, may be one now he regrets.
Oh, for sure.
So a year into their marriage, Reggie and Lauren, they're a year in now. And remember, they got married in 2019. So a year in would mean 2020.
Right.
It's COVID. COVID years.
Oh, okay.
And the world is different.
Yes.
Okay. Lockdown is happening. Lauren is spending less and less time outside of the house socializing. But it seems like Reggie, even with the isolation that's happening because of COVID, Reggie is trying to make her stay like even more isolated than COVID isolation. He started complaining about her friends and expressing how uncomfortable they make him and how mean they are. He's even started like eavesdropping on her phone conversations and then later using those conversations against her. He'll like bring up what she said or like what he's overheard.
Yeah.
And he starts relying on her more and more for money. He's already moved into the house that she previously owned. And so Lauren's starting to feel like she's being used in her own marriage. Like he's a leech. Like I'm supporting everything in this situation.
Right.
So she begins making calls to her friends from the car because she doesn't want to take them in the house. And she starts to like slowly reveal to them some of the things that have been happening, because up until that point, she's like going through and having these feelings, but she hasn't really expressed, outwardly what was happening. And so by this point, she's starting to tell people.
Yeah.
On October 14th, 2020, she sends a text message to a friend. She tells the friend that she wants to tell her something, but she doesn't want her to share it with like the rest of their friends. She's like, you could tell your husband, but like don't share it more widely. And so Lauren tells her friend that Reggie has been cheating on her.
Oh.
And this is not the first time. And she's planning to leave him. So friends are shocked to find this out because, like I said, she had been kind of holding everything close to her chest. So they're shocked to find out that he had been cheating. These revelations and like the stories that Lauren has started to tell her friends prompt one of her friends to do a full background check, because remember, they've never really liked him anyway.
Right.
He seems a little suspicious.
Yeah.
So one of the friends does a full background check. She types in his name and his birth date and almost instantly learns that Reggie is a father of not one, but 2 children. Wow. 2 children he's never mentioned to Lauren.
Wow. Sus.
Yes. So now Lauren is like, I've had enough of Reggie. I want him gone. We've done too much. But because of COVID and the moratorium on evictions, Lauren was under the impression that she couldn't legally put him out. Yeah. Like not immediately, really. And so she tells him, you have until March, okay, but you're going to have to go. So we're in October, November. Yeah. And so she's giving him like 4 months to kind of get him stuff together and then get out of my house. Yeah. At this point, she has him move to a separate bedroom in the house. And according to reports, she starts sleeping with a knife under her pillow. And she even purchases a thing of mace because she starts to fear he's going to be violent towards her. Yeah. From the research, I couldn't gather something specific that he did or like that triggered her to do these things. Yeah. But everyone said she started sleeping with a knife under her pillow and getting maced because she was scared he was going to be violent. Oh, wow. So days and months pass, I'm sure like awkwardly because they're living together still. She's obviously in fear of her life. And then on Sunday, March 7th, 2021, Reggie makes a call to 911.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to play the call for you.
No.
Because I just want you to hear it.
I just got in from church and I think my wife is dead.
Okay. And what makes you think that, sir?
Because she's not breathing.
Okay. Is she cold?
She's like, yes.
Okay.
So that is the call that he makes to 911. And the operators and police are confused by what they describe as kind of calm. They're saying, based on the severity of what he's describing and the tone and like how he's saying it, they're saying it seemed odd. So they weren't all the way sure what they were walking into, to the point that when ambulance and police come, they come, but their lights and their sirens are off because they're not really understanding what is happening. When they walk into the house, they are immediately thrown off by the intense smell of bleach that is reeking throughout the house. They see a half-eaten cookie on the kitchen counter, and then up at the doorway of Lauren's bedroom, they find her laying on the ground, severely and savagely beaten to death. There's like a Buddha statue that's not too far off from where she's laying. There's a bottle of bleach that appears to have been poured all over her. Yeah. She also has a pillowcase that's been stuffed down her throat. And the entire room has been ransacked. There's drawers that have been flipped over everywhere. There's clothes everywhere. So they're trying to understand, was this like a robbery? But nothing else in the house is like disturbed in that
Right.
way. So they're just trying to figure out like what happened here.
Yeah.
They take notes of like there's fingerprints from the bed that go to the doorway, and so they're trying to understand what position she was in and how her body got to where it was. But police are immediately suspicious and take Reggie down for questioning.
Of course.
He gives his account of the story, and according to him, he says that, yeah, we were sleeping in separate rooms, and he says he went to bed the night before and she was fine. They weren't really, of course, on speaking or like friendly terms because they're in the process of this separation. And so when he woke up that morning, he didn't like go to speak to her because that's not what they would do.
Yeah.
He took his dogs on a walk. He went to church. He came home from church. He had a cookie. And then he went upstairs and discovered Lauren's body laying on the ground.
There's his story, huh?
Yes. But with no forced entry. And like they notice in their conversations with him that he has like some blood on his hands. It looks like it's been cleaned, but they notice, they notice enough. And so police aren't convinced of Reggie's account. And by March 8th, Reggie is arrested for the murder of Lauren Charles. Through their investigation, police learn more about who Reggie really was. They discover he was, in fact, cheating on Lauren with about 2 different women kind of throughout their relationship. They also learn that he had a long history of people seeking protective orders against him, including one that was filed in 2018 when he was named in a domestic violence protection order request. And the thing about that particular request, it doesn't say who filed the request, but the fact that it was in 2018, they were already dating.
Oh, yeah.
And so you would assume it wasn't from Lauren, but also maybe they've never been able to say who filed that one.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that order was denied. But again, it's not clear who filed it. Police also learned that 20 years ago, Reggie had assaulted a woman named Nikki Peel at Howard University.
Oh.
At that point, the two were dating, and they were laying in bed, according to Nikki. They were laying in bed one night, and one night he just grabs a pillow and proceeds to try and smother her. He wraps his hands around her neck and attempts to strangle her. She's able to fight him off, and she ends up obviously ending the relationship, but the trauma of that never left her. So back to Lauren's story, Reggie is convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison and won't have the chance to get out of jail until he's nearly 100 years old. And I brought up particularly the story about Nikki Peel, the Howard University story, because she gave a victim impact statement at the sentencing for Lauren's case and kind of noted her experience with him and how that has, of course, affected the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Reggie maintains his innocence. He says that he is innocent. But, of course, Lauren's family is grateful that, in this case, they feel like justice was served and the fact that he, was convicted and sentenced. They've gone on, Lauren's family has gone on to keep Lauren's name and legacy in many forms. And to this day, they want people to learn from her story. They want people to know that abuse doesn't always begin with physical attacks, and it doesn't always look like physical attacks. Sometimes it can be control or manipulation, isolation, or even gaslighting. They encourage anyone in an abusive situation to act now and get out because it can truly cost you your life.
Man. Reggie, man.
Reggie.
He was Red Flag City the whole
Red
time.
Flag City.
Pops knew.
Oh, yeah. And her friends.
Her friends,
Her
everybody
friends.
knew.
Everybody knew. The signs were there.
Suspect, man.
Yeah. That's terrible.
I wouldn't have went forward with none of that. I'm like, yo, what's up with your house situation?
I
Why I ain't never
know.
meet your mom? Where
I
your
know.
family at? What's
so
going
many
on?
questions.
Why you
And it
give me
makes
the
you
address?
wonder because, of course, these kind of stories happen, in a lot of situations.
Right.
People kind of do this. But it's like the thinking or the convincing of yourself that you have to do, because it's hard to believe that she didn't take note of those red flags, that she didn't feel all right with it.
Right.
But I could only imagine that she talked herself into believing that it's okay, it's fine,
Yeah.
And then to hear that she wasn't telling her friends what was going on until it got to that point, so you can only imagine what she was truly what really went, down in that
Yeah.
house.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's another red flag. You got to hide
If you
what's
have to
going
hide.
on from your friends and family. It's
Yep.
like, yo, why am I hiding this from them?
Yeah.
Especially people that truly care about you.
Absolutely.
For Reggie,
Yeah. For Reggie, who had 2 kids. She ain't even know.
I didn't expect his voice to sound like that.
I know.
It
I was when
it
I
high
listened.
pitch.
I had to listen a few times.
Yeah, I was like,
I said, "Oh,
yeah. Reggie was out here with the high notes.
Yep." Well, thank you for being here and
Of
allowing
course.
me to tell you Lauren's story.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the audience. I send my prayers of love and strength out to
Absolutely.
Lauren's family and to everyone who loves her.
Yeah.
Until next time.